Make sure you go and get your coffee because today I am diving into questions that you guys have asked me. I'm so happy that you are here today. Welcome to my channel. My name is Alexa. So I have printed off all of the questions that you have asked me mostly through Instagram, but there are about 11 questions, I think, and I have them printed. So if I'm looking down, I'm just reading those questions and let's get into it. Okay. So the first one is, I'm new. I'm terrified of lockdown drills. Should I be scared? Should I be as scared as I am? So one thing to keep in mind is you should not be living in fear at all. And I know that in America, I'm assuming you are in America, the situations in school is absolutely terrifying. We had one so far this school year, and hopefully one is just too many. But my suggestion for you is to make sure that you understand the protocols in the school, the procedure and protocols. Get there early. And if you have any questions about the protocols and whatever, that principal, or if there is a resource officer, you are more than welcome to ask your questions and demand answers. You are more than welcome to demand answers. Down below, I will link my lockdown video that I made a few months back. It is general, but please make sure that whatever school you're at, you understand and you know the procedures and policies in a lockdown drill. So all in all, don't live in fear. Know your surroundings and know the procedures in order to know what to do in the lockdown drill. What should I do if I don't know a question a student asks me? This happened to me a lot. So you're only human and we don't know everything. Okay. So you can look it up on the computer or your phone if you're allowed to have your phone. You can also, what I did is, like, for example, I was in French once and I always just made the joke, like I would always say, like, hey, just so you know, I don't know French. I know like oui, and that's it. But if you guys have a question, I will write that to your teacher. And so they can answer it when they come back. Something like that. That way you don't have to feel obligated to like answer these questions, especially if you're in like AP French. Like I took Spanish, so. Okay. How do I get more requests at the school I enjoy being at? If you enjoy being at a school, let them know, okay? So let that secretary know that you enjoy being there. If you have an opening, put me in, if you are like, you don't mind where you're at ever. Another thing you can do is, when you are in for a teacher that you really did enjoy, you enjoyed their students, let the teacher know that you'd love to come back and give them your name and your contact information, whether you want it to be through a phone call or a text or email, whatever it is that you prefer. And I also have a link down a video to how to be the most requested sub. How can I maintain my energy all day? That's really hard to do. And if you are in kinder, more power to you. Me, it's coffee. But no. To have more energy throughout the day, you really need to think about your lifestyle. And I don't mean that's rudely. I'm not saying like you have a bad lifestyle or whatever, but make sure that you are sleeping 7 to 9 hours a night, whatever you need. I need 8 hours of sleep, or else, like, watch out. When you wake up in the morning, drink 16 ounces of water. Always drink water before you have your coffee. Okay? Super important. Make sure you have a really healthy breakfast when you go in to school. And one thing I want to say is hydration. Now, this job, teaching jobs in general, you can't pee. And I understand that. So when you hear me say you need to be hydrating, it's like, but I can't go to the bathroom and pee when I want to. I understand. And doing that, teaching pregnant, oh my gosh, I had to pee all the time. If you have to go call someone from the office to come down for you for 2 seconds so you can go to the bathroom, or if you see a teacher in the hallway, ask them if they have a few minutes so that you can go to the bathroom, like, that's fine. But it's so important that you hydrate. That's going to keep you going throughout the day, going as an energy going, and you'll feel good. You need it. Okay? All right. Moving on. How do I deal with students who refuse to listen? You are going to get them. And it's like nails on a chalkboard, just why won't they listen, If you're, what I've done, because schools are so different. One school I was at when I first started subbing, they were like, if a kid misbehaves, send them right to the office. And the school that I am now, well, not now, but I was teaching at and substitute taught at and was a para at, they didn't allow us to send them to the office. Now, those two school districts were completely different children. One, I had these kids in the one school district are there's more money and more resources. The other school had some resources and stuff, but different school. So you can't, every school district is different, but if there is an incident where they're refusing to do anything or they're threatening you or bad situations, send them to the office. Just do it. I mean, I'm not saying that at the one school that I didn't. I have in extreme cases, but I rarely had problems. But if they refuse, one, you can ignore it, or two, like, you can always try to talk to that student. Remove them from their friends, not like abruptly or anything, but you can talk to them and just say, hey, is something bothering you? Why is there no listening going on? Like, what's going on? Do you need to go see a counselor or anything like that? And if they open up and they say what's bothering them, that's great. If they go back to doing what they were doing, if it's something that it's outrageous, yeah, send them to the office. If not, I would just ignore it, write their teacher a note, and just move on. It's probably the best thing that you can do. Okay. What if I can't find the lesson plans in the classroom? Or what if there is none? Oh my goodness gracious. As a substitute teacher, I will be very frank with you. There will be times where you have absolutely no sub-plans. And it's going to be great. No, it's going to be great because you're going to have the confidence in yourself to know what to do. So in that scenario, always survey the classroom, right? See if there's any textbooks in there. Make sure that you look for clues. Basically, look for clues around the classroom. What are they doing, right? Nowadays, they're on their laptops. So if a student comes in, first student comes in, you say, hey, like, do you mind just letting me know what you're working on? And they're like, yeah, sure. And then they show you, and then and I'm like, okay. Because what my school did was they had Blackboard. And when you go on and it says like agenda, you see the entire agenda for that week, which was so nice. So like if I was there on a Wednesday, I can just pull up Wednesday. Okay, this is what they're doing. Okay, cool. And then like I never really took a picture of it. I guess I took a mental note of it, or I wrote it down on a notebook, and I just said to myself like, okay, like this is what you're doing for the, not said to myself, but I would say to the class what they were doing based on that. Plus I would also say like, hey, this is on your Blackboard, so that they knew. But if you really like don't have anything, there's nothing available, you could go to the teacher next door, ask if they got emailed their plans, or you could see what they're working on, see if they have any packets or anything. Sometimes teachers provide a subtub full of emergency lesson plans, and that's really nice because you can go through and there's just things that they've been working on or just extra assignments that it's relevant to the class, but it might not be what they're doing like at that specific moment. Usually the subplans are on the teacher's desk or around the teacher's desk. So when you walk in, make sure you look in those areas. It shouldn't be on a student's desk or anything weird. In that particular case, I would feel like there would be no lesson plans if you cannot find them. Okay, coffee time. How do I handle attendance when there is no seating charts? I have a video on ideas for you to take attendance. You can do it any way you want to. You can go to the door when the students come in and welcome them in and just say, hey, can I have your name? And they'll say Ryan and Alexa and Sarah, and as they come in. You can have the roster sitting down with a clipboard, and you can have them check off their names. You'll just have to say it 50 times, but they can go through and check off their names. Totally fine. You can have a student come in. If a student came in, like say this is middle school, high school, and they came in 2 minutes before the bell rang, and maybe you're covering, who knows what this scenario is, covering the class, and you say, hey, do you mind as students come in, like mark their names off when they come in, because they know they're students, so, or they know their classmates, so at least they know their names, and they can just mark it off like that, you know. It is a lot easier to have attendance seating charts, but that's not always the case. So check out the video I have down below, and that will help you as well. Okay. How do you handle a difficult class? Difficult classes. First off, take a deep breath when you have a difficult class. But in any time that you come into a brand new class, I want you to write expectations. Whether it's a whiteboard, a blackboard, you can get onto the computer and go onto Google Slides or PowerPoint, however you can, to make it easier on yourself. And then you have these expectations. Wow, I wanted to say explanations and not expectations. So in this case, what you would do is just say, like, make it easy for them. Like say, okay, like I have these rules for you that I want you to follow throughout the day. So 1, no talking when the teacher's talking. If you have a question, please raise your hand, blah, blah, blah. You know the scenario. We've been doing that since we were in school. You could do, excuse me, my nose is itchy. You can do something like work hard. Your teacher had this plan for you and you need to do this so that you guys are moving on to chapter 2 or whatever. And then something like smile and be kind for the day, like easy things. But if there's one thing that really bothers you for a disruptive class, you just like put that in your expectations. But as far as if you're in the class already and the class is really disruptive and disrespectful, just be firm with them and like don't let them walk all over you. I know that this is very cliche and it's probably not the answer like you wanted to have, but just let them know, like, hey, like, I'm your teacher for the day, like, whatever the scenario is, and they like, I'm gonna write your name down. If it's to the point you need to send them to the office, send them to the office. There's nothing wrong with that. Definitely ask for help. Okay, this is getting old, but I will link another video that I have in the description that would be very helpful for this. It is 8 effective strategies for behavior management. How do you build rapport as a day-to-day sub? So this one I think is one of the hardest things to do as a substitute teacher. especially because you may have my class, let's just say Mrs. Watts' class, one day, and you memorize the students' names and you got to know them. And then next day you go over to Mrs. Wall's class. I'm looking at the wall, so that's just what I thought of. And so in that scenario, what I do is I make casual conversation, right? Like, we've all been in a situation where, like, we have a really good friend with us and they leave to go to the bathroom, and their other friend that you just met, you're just there and you're just like, hey. So one thing I like to do is, and I'm not perfect by all means, but when I go around and I'm seeing them working, I comment on like, oh, your hair looks really cute today, like whatever. Or if I see a guy with a football jersey on, I'm like, oh, like, you play football, what position do you play, and stuff like that. I just try to do small talk because for some reason, my mind always remembers that, and I'm able to, like, next time I see them and say, hey, how was that game, you know, or how are you doing in football, or how's cheerleading, you know? It's simple talk, and it's just and another part of building rapport too is just learning their names, and that just makes them feel a little bit more valued and feeling safe within the classroom. So I know it's hard, and I know that you might not have these kids for another 80 days, who knows, and that's understandable. Just try your best and just make casual conversations with them. It does not have to be like in depth of who that they really are. I'm new to subbing, but I got asked to be a long-term position. Is it worth it? Should I do it? Okay, I get this question asked a lot to me, so I'm really glad that this is brought up. If you are a brand new substitute teacher and maybe you're someone who wanted to try this out after you lost your job or whatever, or like, meaning you weren't in education when you went to college, so you don't really know what you're doing, I would suggest sticking with a day-to-day sub. And the reason why is a day-to-day sub is really, really nice because you might not get to know the kids right away and stuff, but you're getting experience within the classroom and seeing what the education world is about these days. And at the end of the day, you get to go home and you have no work, okay? And the difference between a day-to-day sub and a long-term sub is that long-term sub is going to be in for a teacher who might be on like maternity leave. So what that means is they are going to be there doing the grading. They're going to be in for the teacher, so you have to go in on days where there's no students. You have to like really get the class management down and the curriculum. You're doing the lesson plans. You're doing what the teacher's doing. So that's why it would be harder, especially if you're brand new. I would suggest getting this year underway, and if you're like, hey, I really enjoy this, and you really want to try grading and doing all that stuff, then of course you can go to a long-term position. I just don't want you to stress yourself out thinking like, whoa, I thought this was going to be a breeze, when it's really not. Day-to-day subbing is not a breeze either. It's like, these students give you a run for your money, and literally you're subbing and it's literally a run for your money. But just being honest with you, as someone who was a day-to-day sub, who did take a long-term sub position before I got my teaching position, it's hard work. It was nice because I loved the consistency. I loved having the students like know who I am. I was here every day, didn't have to look for a job. That was great. But then it comes with the involvement of parents. I got emails all the time like, hey, you didn't grade this paper. What the heck? Did you look at my child's IEP or 504 plan? And like, why did you give my child a detention for skipping class? Like, you know, like there's more things to deal with that. So that's more like, you're much more closer to being a teacher as a long-term sub. I hope I made that clear. I was thinking about making a video between the difference of a day-to-day sub and a long-term sub and doing pros and cons of both. If you like that, definitely like let me know in the comments down below. How much money does a sub make? Not enough. I will tell you that. You guys work so hard that I feel like subs should be making $1 billion, and teachers, the regular teacher. Seriously, it's a lot of work. As a day-to-day sub, going in, not knowing the students, not knowing where the bathroom is, and all this stuff. You're not making enough money for it, and it's sad. But you could probably make more money at being at McDonald's. It's like in my district, it's 120, I believe, a day, which isn't bad, but it's just, you deserve a lot more. And it just so you know, it's based on where you live. So someone in California is going to have way much more pay, possibly way more pay than someone who will be here where I am in Pittsburgh. Not that like in San Francisco, I know is very expensive, but like I live in the suburbs of Pittsburgh, so there's no comparison with like what that pay is. I only know that because I have a friend there who has 2 jobs just to pay her and her husband both like have double jobs to pay their mortgage. So they're not subs. But that just goes to show you how expensive it is. It's dependent on where you live. And I also was going to do a video on this. If you are wanting that, I can make that video happen. I just haven't made it yet because everywhere in the United States is different. Okay, guys, thank you so much for asking or answering my question on Instagram. I hope I got to answer these questions effectively. If you have any other questions, please comment down below. I'm happy to answer down below. I'll see you in the next video.